When a younger woman receives a compliment from an older man, it is not the words alone that touch her, it is the intention behind them. She listens for truth, for respect, for recognition that goes beyond the obvious. There are 8 kinds of compliments that awaken her spirit. First, the compliment that says, "I see your mind at work." To notice her intelligence is to honor the spark of her individuality. Second, the compliment that says, "Your courage inspires me." Bravery recognized is bravery multiplied. Third, the compliment that acknowledges growth. "I admire how you keep evolving." To name her progress is to tell her she is not fixed, but unfolding. Fourth, the compliment that honors her presence. "You bring light into the room." Because presence is power, and to see it is to affirm her impact. Fifth, the compliment that values her voice. "What you say makes a difference." For words shape worlds, and when we tell her this, she dares to speak more. Sixth, the compliment that reassures her dignity. "You carry yourself with grace." It tells her that she is not defined only by how she looks, but by how she lives. Seventh, the compliment that appreciates uniqueness. "No one else sees it the way you do." Because to be irreplaceable is to be treasured. And eighth, the compliment that awakens possibility. "You have so much ahead of you." It is both a mirror and a map, reflecting her worth, pointing her forward. These are not lines, they are gifts. When spoken with sincerity, they do more than please the ear, they nourish the soul. A younger woman cannot resist such words, not because they flatter her, but because they remind her of who she truly is and who she is still becoming. Asterisk, when we speak of compliments, many people think of clever phrases, polished lines, or quick remarks meant to impress. But the truth is, words only carry real weight when they are anchored in authenticity. A compliment is not about performance, it is about presence. It is about seeing someone, truly noticing them, and choosing to articulate that recognition in a way that feels genuine. Without authenticity, a compliment becomes hollow. With authenticity, even the simplest words can be unforgettable. Authenticity matters because people, regardless of age or gender, have a natural radar for sincerity. We may not always be able to explain it, but we can feel it. When someone says something they don't mean, the body knows. There is a slight tightening, a subtle discomfort, an intuition that the words are not aligned with truth. On the other hand, when a compliment comes from a place of genuine observation and heartfelt respect, it resonates. It does not feel like flattery or strategy. It feels like acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is one of the deepest human needs. For a younger woman, hearing a compliment from an older man, authenticity becomes even more significant. The dynamic between generations often carries layers of expectation, misunderstanding, or projection. Younger women may already be cautious of being reduced to appearances or treated with condescension. They have often heard enough empty lines or compliments meant only to serve the ego of the speaker. What cuts through that noise is authenticity, a real compliment rooted in truth and free of ulterior motives. It's disarming in the most positive way. It feels safe, it feels refreshing, it feels rare. An authentic compliment is never about exaggeration. It does not try too hard. It does not reach for grand statements that cannot be sustained. Instead, it notices the details that others overlook. It might be as simple as recognizing the effort someone put into a project, the way they express themselves in conversation, or the quiet strength they show in challenging moments. Authenticity means that you, as the speaker, are paying attention. You are not projecting what you think she wants to hear. You are reflecting back what you actually see. This reflection is powerful because it tells her she is not invisible. Another reason authenticity matters is because it communicates integrity. When an older man speaks with sincerity, he demonstrates that his words can be trusted. This trust is crucial. Without it, compliments risk sounding manipulative, but when the listener senses that the words are aligned with the speaker's values and observations, the compliment carries weight. It becomes less about decoration and more about affirmation, and affirmation has the power to strengthen confidence, to encourage growth, and to deepen connection. Authenticity also transforms the act of giving a compliment into something reciprocal. Many people think that compliments are only for the benefit of the one receiving them, but in truth, when you offer a compliment with authenticity, it reflects your own character. It shows that you have the courage to express appreciation honestly. It reveals that you are attentive enough to notice and generous enough to share what you notice. In this sense, authenticity elevates both the giver and the receiver. It creates a moment of mutual recognition. She feels seen, and you demonstrate your integrity. At its core, authenticity is about alignment. It is the alignment between what you observe, what you feel, and what you say. When all three are in harmony, the compliment becomes powerful. It does not matter if the words are simple. In fact, simplicity often enhances authenticity. A straightforward statement like, "I admire the way you handled that situation," can touch more deeply than any flowery description. What makes it powerful is not the complexity of the language, but the truth behind it. For younger women, authentic compliments can carry long, lasting impact. In moments of uncertainty or self-doubt, those words can return as reminders of their worth. They are not remembered as fleeting flattery, but as anchors, steady points of validation from someone who saw them clearly. That memory endures because authenticity is memorable. Empty compliments fade quickly, authentic ones linger. Ultimately, authenticity matters because it honors both people involved. It honors the younger woman by respecting her intelligence and her capacity to discern sincerity, and it honors the older man by challenging him to speak from truth rather than performance. When he chooses authenticity, he communicates not only admiration, but also respect, and respect is the foundation of any meaningful interaction. So let us remember, a compliment does not have to be dramatic to be irresistible. It has to be real, words that come from the heart, words that are connected to genuine observation, words that are free of hidden agendas. Those are the compliments that resonate across generations. They may not be the loudest or the most glamorous, but they are the ones that stay. Authenticity is the bridge that turns words into connection, and connection into lasting influence. Compliments are often reduced to appearances. The easiest words to reach for are about how someone looks, her smile, her hair, her eyes, the way she dresses, and while there is nothing inherently wrong with appreciating beauty, limiting compliments only to the physical surface quickly becomes repetitive and shallow. What many younger women long for, especially when hearing from an older man, is recognition that goes deeper. To be seen not just as attractive, but as intelligent, capable, creative, resilient, and unique. Compliments that move beyond physical beauty touch the core of a person rather than just the surface. Physical beauty has its place. It can certainly delight, inspire, and captivate. But when someone receives only appearance-based compliments, it can leave them feeling one-dimensional, as though their value is reduced to what is visible. For younger women who are already navigating a world saturated with beauty standards and comparisons, this kind of narrow recognition can feel limiting. They know they are more than their face or figure. They want to be reminded of their essence, not just their exterior, and that is why compliments that focus beyond physical beauty are often the ones they cannot resist. When an older man recognizes qualities beyond looks, he demonstrates depth of perception. He shows that he is capable of noticing character, effort, and spirit. This communicates maturity. It reassures the younger woman that his interest is not superficial, but meaningful. For example, noticing her determination in pursuing her goals, or her ability to handle challenges with grace, reveals attentiveness. Compliments like these suggest that he has taken the time to observe who she is, not just how she appears. That kind of attention is rare and therefore deeply valuable. Beyond beauty, there are countless dimensions waiting to be acknowledged. There is intelligence. The way she expresses ideas, the clarity of her thinking, the creativity of her problem solving. There is courage, the risks she takes, the stands she makes, the vulnerability she shows in being authentic. There is kindness, the way she treats others, the compassion she extends, the care she offers. There is energy, her ability to bring enthusiasm, laughter, or calm presence into a space. When these qualities are named, they awaken a part of her that feels truly seen. A compliment about beauty fades quickly, but a compliment about essence lingers long after. It is also important to remember that many younger women are still in the process of forming their identity. They are growing, experimenting, questioning who they are and who they want to become. In this stage of life, to receive recognition beyond appearance is profoundly affirming. It tells them that their value does not depend solely on external validation. It reinforces the idea that they are defined by more than what they look like. An older man with his experience and perspective has the ability to offer words that strengthen this awareness. His compliment can become a guiding message that supports her growth and self-confidence. When compliments extend beyond physical beauty, they also foster trust. Women know that physical admiration is easy to offer, but deeper recognition requires attention and sincerity. Trust builds when she senses that the words spoken come from genuine observation rather than automatic flattery. This trust is what makes the compliment irresistible, not because it flatters her ego, but because it affirms her humanity. It makes her feel respected, valued, and safe. Moving beyond beauty also brings balance. It does not mean physical compliments should be abandoned completely. They can still be meaningful when expressed authentically, but when they are combined with recognition of inner qualities, the message becomes complete. It says, I see both your outside and your inside. I see the whole of you, not just one layer. That balance is what creates depth in connection. Without it, compliments remain shallow. With it, they become transformative. Older man who understands this principle communicates wisdom. He shows that he is not blinded by appearances, but attuned to essence. His words then carry the power to inspire, rather than simply flatter, and inspiration is what creates impact. A compliment about beauty may bring a smile in the moment, but a compliment about resilience, creativity, or kindness can echo for years. It can remind her in difficult times that someone saw those qualities in her, and therefore they must be real. To go beyond physical beauty is to give a compliment that feeds the soul instead of just mirror. It is to acknowledge the depth, the complexity, the unfolding story of another human being. And when spoken with sincerity, such words do not only validate her, they also reflect maturity and integrity of the one who gives them. Because in truth, the way we compliment others reveals much about ourselves. If we see only surface, it suggests a lack of depth within. If we see essence, it suggests awareness, empathy, and attentiveness. That is why compliments beyond beauty are irresistible. They break the cycle of superficiality. They remind her she is more than appearance, more than the image society reflects back at her. They awaken a sense of dignity and recognition that cannot be bought with empty flattery. In choosing to notice beyond physical beauty, we create a connection that is authentic, respectful, and enduring. These are the words that younger women carry with them, not because they glorify what is already visible, but because they illuminate what often goes unseen. There is something profoundly moving about being recognized, not just for who we are today, but for the journey we have taken to become this version of ourselves. Growth is rarely easy. It often comes with challenges, setbacks, doubts, and moments of quiet perseverance that no one else sees. When someone acknowledges that growth, it touches a deeper chord than almost any other compliment. For younger women, still carving their place in the world, still navigating uncertainty and self-discovery, compliments that highlight growth are both validating and empowering. They communicate not only I see you, but also I see how far you have come. Growth recognition matters because it addresses one of the deepest human needs, the desire to be seen in motion, not frozen in a single identity. Many compliments focus on static traits, beauty, intelligence, charm. While these can feel good, they do not capture the process of becoming. To say to someone, I admire how much you've grown, is to recognize their effort, their resilience, and their unfolding story. It honors the work they have invested in themselves, even when the results were not guaranteed. It tells them their evolution has not gone unnoticed. For a younger woman hearing this from an older man, the impact can be profound. Life often places younger people under the weight of expectation, comparison, or even dismissal. They are told they are too young, too inexperienced, not yet ready. Yet at the same time, they are pressured to prove themselves constantly. In that environment, to be told, "I can see how much you are growing, how much you are becoming," is a gift. It counters the narrative of insufficiency and affirms her progress. It says, "Your efforts matter, and they are visible." Compliments about growth are also powerful because they bring attention to qualities that are not always celebrated publicly. Social validation often revolves around quick wins or glamorous moments, but true growth usually happens in the shadows: the late nights spent working, the internal struggles, the courage to face fears, the humility to learn from mistakes. When an older man notices these invisible aspects and articulates them, he validates the unseen. That kind of recognition carries a weight that superficial praise never can. It tells her that someone is paying attention not just to the outcome, but to the process. Another reason recognition of growth matters so deeply is because it encourages further growth. Compliments, when authentic, act as mirrors. They reflect back to us aspects of ourselves that we may not fully appreciate. When someone says, "I can see how much more confident you have become," it may awaken her to the fact that her confidence has indeed expanded. When someone says, "I admire the patience you've developed," it reinforces that her effort to stay calm has not gone unnoticed. In this way, recognition becomes motivation. It strengthens her belief that she is capable of evolving further. It also introduces hope. Growth implies a trajectory, a movement towards something greater. When a younger woman is told that her progress is seen and admired, it affirms that her future holds potential. It reminds her that she is not stuck, not defined by past mistakes, but always capable of becoming more. This message is especially powerful when it comes from someone older, someone who has witnessed more of life's cycles. The credibility of his perspective adds weight to the words. It tells her that her growth is not only real, but also significant in the larger context of life. Compliments about growth also reinforce dignity. Too often, compliments directed toward younger women risk objectifying them or reducing them to surface qualities. But when the focus is on growth, the message shifts. It says, "I respect your journey. I value your effort. I admire who you are becoming." This shifts the compliment from one of consumption to one of elevation. It is not about what she gives to others in terms of beauty or charm, but about who she is building herself to be. That kind of respect is irresistible because it affirms her humanity in the most holistic way. Recognition of growth also bridges generations. An older man acknowledging the progress of a younger woman creates a dynamic of encouragement rather than judgment. It shifts the relationship from one of hierarchy to one of mentorship. Instead of emphasizing the gap between them, it highlights the shared human experience of change and evolution. This not only empowers her, but also reflects the wisdom and generosity of the older man. By naming her growth, he models the maturity of seeing beyond the surface, of valuing substance over impression. At its core, the recognition of growth reminds us that identity is not fixed. It honors the fact that we are all in the process of becoming. For a younger woman, still shaping her career, her values, her relationships, her self-image, this kind of acknowledgement is like fuel. It tells her she is on the right path. Even if she sometimes doubts it, it reminds her that progress is visible, even if perfection is not yet reached, and it reassures her that others see her efforts, even when she feels unseen. Compliments that recognize growth are not just words, they are affirmations of possibility. They acknowledge the struggle, celebrate the progress, and point toward the future. For younger women, such recognition is irresistible not because it flatters the ego, but because it validates the journey. It reminds them that they are works in progress, and that this in itself is beautiful. Admiration is one of the most powerful forms of acknowledgement we can offer another person. It is more than noticing, more than complimenting. It is a way of saying, "I hold something about you in high regard." Yet admiration, when given carelessly, can easily cross the line into objectification or shallow praise. What makes admiration meaningful, especially in the context of younger women receiving it from older men, is when it is rooted in respect. Respectful admiration is not about possession, flattery, or control. It is about recognizing someone's value with dignity, offering words that elevate rather than diminish, and ensuring that the compliment strengthens rather than reduces. Respectful admiration matters because it protects the integrity of both the giver and the receiver. When admiration lacks respect, it can feel intrusive even if it is well-intentioned. Many younger women have experienced compliments that make them feel exposed rather than uplifted, observed rather than honored. They can sense when admiration is self-serving, when the focus is more on the speaker's desires than on their own worth. That is why respectful admiration is irresistible. It creates a safe space in which appreciation feels authentic, considered, and empowering. Respect and admiration begins with intention. It is about asking, what is the purpose of my words? Am I speaking to affirm her? Or am I speaking to satisfy myself? Respect ensures that admiration never becomes about reducing someone to a single trait. Instead of narrowing her identity to beauty, youth, or charm, respectful admiration widens the lens. It notices her presence, her influence, her efforts, and her character. It reflects back the fullness of her humanity. This makes the compliment resonate on a deeper level because it communicates, I see you as a whole person, not as an object. When admiration is respectful, it also becomes empowering. Younger women often navigate environments where admiration is tied to judgment or expectation. They may feel that their value is conditional, that they are admired only when they fit a particular standard of beauty, behavior, or achievement. Respectful admiration breaks this cycle by being unconditional. It does not measure her worth against anyone else. It simply acknowledges what is already present. To hear, I admire the way you carry yourself with confidence and grace, tells her that she is enough as she is. It does not demand change, it simply honors what exists. Respectful admiration also sets a standard for healthy connection. It shows that admiration can be offered without expectation of return, without hidden motives. This kind of compliment becomes a gift rather than a transaction. For a younger woman, it feels safe because it does not place pressure on her to respond in a certain way. It allows her to simply receive the words and absorb their meaning. That safety makes the compliment not only irresistible, but also memorable. She remembers it because it carried no burden, only affirmation. There is also a subtle but important difference between respectful admiration and traditional flattery. Flattery is often exaggerated, designed to impress or persuade. It can feel sweet in the moment, but it rarely lasts because it lacks grounding. Respectful admiration, on the other hand, is anchored in truth. It is careful, precise, and sincere. It might be less dramatic, but it is far more powerful. To say, I admire your persistence, may sound simple, but when spoken genuinely, it can have a lasting effect. It tells her that someone has noticed her effort, her consistency, her strength, qualities that go far beyond appearances. For an older man, practicing respectful admiration also demonstrates maturity. It shows that he understands the weight of his words, and that he chooses to use that weight responsibly. Younger women often look for guidance in how older men interact with them. When admiration is expressed with respect, it models what healthy acknowledgement looks like. It tells her that admiration does not have to be uncomfortable, and that it can exist without crossing boundaries. This in turn encourages her to value herself in the same way, with dignity without compromise. Respectful admiration has another important effect. It builds trust. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, whether personal, professional, or casual. When admiration is respectful, it communicates that the older man can be trusted with his words, that he knows how to offer recognition without harm. For a younger woman, this trust allows her to open herself more, to share her thoughts, her ambitions, her vulnerabilities. The compliment then becomes More than just words, it becomes a bridge toward deeper connection. At its essence, respectful admiration honors freedom. It allows the younger woman to remain in control of her identity, her choices, and her space. It does not attempt to define her or box her in. Instead, it shines a light on the qualities she already carries, reminding her of her worth while leaving her free to grow. That balance between appreciation and respect is what makes such admiration so powerful. It affirms without restricting, praises without pressuring, and acknowledges without objectifying. When admiration is delivered with respect, it leaves a lasting impression. Younger women remember not just the words, but the feeling, the sense of being valued for who they are rather than how they can serve someone else's gaze. They remember the dignity of the exchange, the balance of recognition and freedom, and it is this memory that makes respectful admiration irresistible, because it is not about flattery or gain. It is about seeing, honoring, and respecting another human being. And when admiration carries that kind of weight, it becomes more than a compliment. It becomes a gift of affirmation that can shape how she sees herself for years to come. Every human interaction carries with it an emotional undercurrent. Beyond the words we use, there is always the question, do I feel safe with this person? Emotional safety is not about physical protection alone. It is about the atmosphere we create with our presence, our tone, and our words. For younger women, especially when receiving compliments from older men, emotional safety becomes the invisible boundary that determines whether those words will be embraced or rejected. A compliment that does not create safety feels invasive. A compliment that fosters safety feels like a gift. Emotional safety means that the listener senses no hidden agenda. It means she can trust that the words spoken are not a strategy, not manipulation, but a genuine reflection of what is seen and valued. When she feels safe, she allows herself to receive the compliment fully, without questioning the motives behind it. This is what makes emotional safety irresistible. It allows her to relax, to breathe, and to feel that the words offered are not an attempt to take something from her, but an affirmation that gives back to her. One of the reasons emotional safety is so powerful is because it creates space for vulnerability. Compliments can sometimes stir discomfort, especially if the recipient has learned to doubt praise or to view it with suspicion. But when the environment feels safe, the compliment can bypass defensiveness and land directly in the heart. It reassures her that the speaker sees her with respect. Without judgment, without pressure, safety makes the difference between a compliment being brushed aside and a compliment being cherished. Younger women often live in a world where their value is constantly assessed, compared, or objectified. Compliments in that environment can sometimes feel like evaluations, like a measure of worth against a standard. Emotional safety breaks that pattern. It turns the compliment into something free of competition, free of expectation. It is not about ranking her against anyone else. It is about recognizing her as herself. This kind of safety is deeply empowering because it tells her she is enough. For an older man, creating emotional safety requires self-awareness. It means understanding the power of his words, the potential weight of his presence, and choosing to use that power with care. Tone of voice, body language, and timing matter just as much as the compliment itself. A simple phrase spoken with respect, humility, and warmth can feel safe, while the same words delivered carelessly can feel unsettling. Safety is not about the language alone, it is about the energy that carries it. When emotional safety is present, compliment becomes more than words, it becomes connection. She not only hears what is said, but also feels the intention behind it. The sincerity, the respect, the absence of pressure, all of these are felt intuitively. And because humans remember how they feel more than what they hear, she remembers not just the compliment, but the safety that surrounded it. That memory stays with her, shaping how she views the interaction and the person who offered it. Another important aspect of emotional safety is freedom. A safe compliment does not corner her into responding a certain way. It does not demand reciprocity. It allows her to receive the words on her own terms, to smile, to thank, or simply to let the compliment settle quietly within her. This freedom is vital because it respects her autonomy. It says, "I admire this about you," without requiring her to validate the speaker in return. That lack of pressure is what makes the compliment irresistible. It gives without taking. Emotional safety also transforms the meaning of admiration. Instead of feeling like an intrusion, admiration becomes encouragement. Instead of making her feel watched, it makes her feel seen. This subtle but profound difference is created by the safety of the space in which the words are offered. When safety is absent, admiration can feel heavy, like an unwanted gaze. When safety is present, admiration feels like light, gentle, warm, and life-affirming. Respect lies at the heart of emotional safety. To respect someone is to be mindful of how your words land, to care about their comfort as much as your own expression. When admiration is framed with respect, the compliment elevates rather than diminishes. It does not reduce her to an object, it honors her as a whole person. That respect is what makes the space safe, and the safety is what allows the compliment to take root and grow into lasting affirmation. For younger women, safety is what determines whether a compliment will be trusted. When they feel emotionally safe, they allow the words to influence how they see themselves. They might carry those words into their future, recalling them in moments of doubt, proof that someone once saw something valuable in them. Without safety, the words dissolve quickly. With safety, they remain. Ultimately, emotional safety is not just about the compliment itself, but about the relationship it creates. A compliment given in safety says, "I am not here to take, but to give. I am not here to pressure, but to affirm. I am not here to reduce, but to respect." That message is irresistible because it nurtures dignity. It turns simple words into an act of care, and in a world where many compliments lack this depth, those that are wrapped in safety stand apart, remembered not only for what was said, but for how they made her feel. There is a delicate but vital difference between flattery and inspiration. Flattery is about pleasing. It aims to gain favor, often through exaggeration or empty praise. Inspiration, on the other hand, is about awakening something within the other person, reminding them of their strength, their possibilities, their essence. While flattery may produce a momentary smile, inspiration plants a seed that continues to grow long after the words have been spoken. For younger women, who often receive compliments that skim the surface, words that inspire rather than flatter are irresistible. They do not simply make her feel good in the moment, they help her believe more deeply in herself. Flattery is seductive because it offers quick validation. It tells someone what they want to hear, or what the speaker assumes they want to hear. But flattery fades quickly because it lacks grounding. Once the initial glow passes, the listener may begin to question the sincerity of the words. She may wonder, was that really about me, or was it said to win my attention? This doubt strips flattery of its power. Inspiration, however, carries weight precisely because it feels anchored in truth. It speaks to qualities or possibilities that the woman can recognize in herself even if she has not yet fully embraced them. When an older man chooses inspiration over flattery, he demonstrates maturity and depth. He resists the easy path of repeating tired lines or surface observations. Instead, he looks deeper, noticing the qualities that make her unique, the values that guide her, or the resilience she shows in her journey. By acknowledging these aspects, his words do more than flatter, they spark reflection. She may walk away from the interaction not only smiling, but also considering herself in a new light. That is the essence of inspiration. It transforms how she sees herself. Inspiration also lasts longer because it ties recognition to growth and potential. While flattery tends to freeze someone in a moment, "You are beautiful," "You are charming," inspiration looks forward. It says, "I see what you are becoming," or "I see what you are capable of." These words point toward possibility, and possibility creates hope. Younger women, especially those still navigating uncertainty, deeply value reminders that their journey is unfolding with promise. To hear an older voice affirm that potential is profoundly motivating. It does not just please the ego, it strengthens the spirit. Another key distinction is that inspiration affirms substance, not just surface. Flattery often lingers on what is most visible, appearance, style. Charm. Inspiration goes deeper, highlighting resilience, intelligence, creativity, kindness, or determination. Compliments that focus on these traits carry more significance because they reflect effort and essence rather than luck or genetics. For example, saying, "I admire how you bring energy and optimism even in difficult situations," does more than flatter. It reinforces her inner strength. These kinds of acknowledgments become touchstones she can return to in moments of doubt, long after the words were spoken. Inspiration also fosters empowerment. Flattery can sometimes create dependence. The listener craves more validation, always looking outside herself for affirmation. Inspiration, however, turns the gaze inward. It reminds her that she already carries qualities being recognized. It does not say, "You need me to see your worth." It says, "Your worth is already there, and I am simply reflecting it back to you." This shift is subtle but transformative. It allows her to internalize the compliment rather than remain dependent on external praise. For an older man, choosing inspiration over flattery shows responsibility. He understands the influence his words can have, and he uses that influence to uplift rather than manipulate. Inspiration does not serve his ego, it serves her growth. That generosity of spirit is part of what makes the words irresistible. She senses that the compliment is not about him gaining something, but about her gaining confidence, clarity, or encouragement. This trust makes the compliment not only safe, but also deeply valued. The impact of inspiration is magnified because it aligns with the human need for meaning. People want to know that their lives have direction, that their efforts matter, that they are on a path of significance. When someone notices and names these aspects, it resonates far beyond the moment. It affirms not just what they are, but who they are becoming. Flattery might sparkle briefly, but inspiration shines steadily, like a lantern carried into the future. Younger women in particular are navigating transitions, building careers, exploring relationships, shaping their identities. At times, these transitions can feel overwhelming or uncertain. In those moments, flattery is empty, but inspiration is fuel. A single remark like, "I believe you will do something remarkable with your talents," can become a line she remembers for years, not because it inflated her ego, but because it reminded her of her own potential at a moment when she needed to believe it. Most ultimately, inspiration over flattery is about respect. It respects her intelligence, her ability to discern truth from performance. It respects her humanity, acknowledging her as more than surface to admire, and it respects her future, affirming that she has endless possibilities still unfolding. This is why inspirational compliments are irresistible. They are not about charm or manipulation, but about empowerment. They awaken rather than distract, strengthen rather than soften, and when words are used in this way, they do more than compliment. They elevate, they encourage, and they leave behind a legacy of belief that outlasts the moment. Here's a powerful conclusion that ties together all 6 expanded keynotes and the remaining 2, written in the same motivational and reflective style, as if closing the full speech. At the heart of every compliment lies a choice. Will it be words that pass like the wind, or words that remain like a memory? Younger women are not drawn to clever lines or rehearsed phrases. They are drawn to what feels real, to what nourishes rather than flatters, to what uplifts rather than reduces. The most irresistible compliments are not about the speaker's charm, but about the listener's dignity. Authenticity matters because without it words are empty. Going beyond physical beauty matters because a woman is more than what meets the eye. Recognizing growth matters because it honors the journey she is on, not just the moment she is in. Respectful admiration matters because it elevates rather than objectifies. Emotional safety matters because only in safety can words be received without fear. Inspiration matters because it lights a fire of self-belief that no flattery can match. And alongside these, uniqueness matters because she longs to be seen as irreplaceable. Possibility matters because every younger woman is still becoming, and to remind her of her future is to give her hope. When these kinds of compliments are spoken with sincerity, they do more than please the ear, they reach the soul. They say, I see you. I value you. I respect who you are and who you are becoming. That is the true gift an older man can offer, not empty praise, but recognition that carries weight, encouragement that inspires, and admiration that honors. In the end, the power of a compliment is not measured by how quickly it makes her smile, but by how long it stays with her. Words that are authentic, respectful, safe, and inspiring live on as part of her story. They help shape how she sees herself, reminding her of her strength, her uniqueness, her potential. These are the words she cannot resist, not because they flatter her, but because they free her to believe in who she truly is.